Mike Bilson,
I'm here.
Tom McDonald,
Here.
Jennifer Finley, Jim Molitaire, Carol Langford, Danielle Matt,
Here.
Bing Matt, James Steele Jr., Martin Charlo,
Present.
Len Tootie, Lenise Trahan.
Thank you, Jen. Francis, will you give us a prayer this morning? Thank you. We have the minutes from October 3rd. You can take a look at those, please.
Mr. Chairman, I have one minor correction, in the, place where I talked about, the kids wanting to use the tribal complex from 3 to 5. It should be that Len Tooth informed council that staff shared an event for kids on Halloween. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Any other corrections? Motion by Len to approve the October 3rd minutes with corrections, second by Danielle. All in favor? Go ahead, Martin.
I just don't want to cause any, I don't know. Can I just take out my, can I just take out the name that I used on page 5 of 6? Just put a tribal member recently retired. instead of the name of the tribal member.
Thank you, Martin.
And then maybe at the end, we'll follow up and hopefully honor them at the next quarterly. Thank you.
We had 2, 4, 6, 4, and Tom abstained. Bing, you have something for that set of minutes?
Page 5. Mr. Chair, you take out that last paragraph where, and it was it worth the gaming conference? You took that out.
Thank you, Bing. We also have minutes from October 4th. We can take a look at those.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In my statement, Abby, could you please change if Project 2025 is implemented, all advances we've had made since the 1900s instead of the 1990s. You change that to the 1900s. Thank you.
Other corrections? Martin.
Just a minor correction on my statement. The Pablo Skate Park grand opening will probably be next spring, depending on the weather. I doubt we'll do it in November. So.
Glenn? Motion by Len to approve the October 4th minutes. Bing, you have something?
Page 4, Mr. Chair, where I mentioned the bathrooms, can we put on there that bathrooms are also planned for the basketball courts?
Thank you, Bing. We got a motion by Len to approve the minutes, second by Bing. All in favor? Unanimous. Go ahead, Martin.
Missed this part. On the bottom of James Bible's statement, can we put, I was worried that the tax credits may not be eligible with the cannabis industry or cannabis sales.
That if we use cannabis sales at the facility that we might not be able to use tax credits. That was your worry?
Well, we won't be able to even apply for tax credits if that's part of the business plan.
Right.
So.
Yeah. We'll make that clear. We do have an agenda for today. I see we have 4 walk-ins. Anything else? Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to do a trip report. It could be later in the day just before we adjourn.
Okay.
Squeeze it in, whatever. And I just want to make a comment that yesterday evening when I was at the skate park in Ronan, it was crowded. So I think we need to add on already. Thank you.
Danielle?
Just Medicine Tree Trip is this Friday, October 11th.
Medicine Tree trip on the 11th. Motion by Martin to approve the agenda with additions.
And actually, if I can kind of tag team when Tom gives his report.
Yep. Second by Tom, all in favor? Unanimous? So we'll take our first walk-in. Kelly, come on up, please. Good morning. And are you looking for open or? Okay. Welcome. Yeah, the one that says, you got it.
All right. Well, good morning, guys. So, my name's Kelly Woodcock. Last year, I come before you guys with my daughter and my husband. I'm coming today on behalf of my daughter, Christine Woodcock. She is requesting a buffalo tag again this year, and she's also requesting a moose tag. Last year, you guys granted her the buffalo tag. We didn't know she was eligible to ask for a moose tag until this year, so we are asking one for her. She's 14 years old. She went to the Buffalo class last year. She went to the Buffalo orientation again this year. I think she attended the last one, which was September 25th. She was unsuccessful last year as only 4 buffalo come out of the whole park. So I guess we didn't get to go down, but we're looking to actively try to bring her down again. So the reason I'm here is asking for a buffalo tag and a moose tag for my daughter.
Motion by Carol, grant the buffalo and moose tag. Second by Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. Go bring home the meat. You
Thank you,
betcha.
guys.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Tom.
just quickly, I think she'll have better success this year. There's, I think the bison population in Yellowstone is almost at 6,000. So the Park Service is recommending a removal of quite a few. So they'll use every tool in the tool bag. It's just when they migrate, it depends on the weather. So keep track of it. Check those webcams, call fishing game. Yep,
Thank you.
you bet.
Have a good day, Kelly. Junior, come on up. Morning.
Good morning. It was gosh, I think it might have been a year and a half, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And I believe this was talked about at one of the Kootenai Culture Committee meetings where we asked for repairs for the Sanka Lodge, the roundhouse in Elmo. And I don't know if that was Lisa Schwartz and her bunch went up there because we were asking for the repair of the roof. So they came up there and they said it can't be repaired. And I can't remember, I think at the time if it can't be repaired, we want to build another one. And so this has been going on for a couple of years now, and every time we have Kootenai Culture meeting, I ask the info, any updates, nothing. So I'm here today to, I guess, make a request on when to be built up in the Dayton area. That roundhouse is where I learned a lot as a little guy growing up. All the elders that participated. A lot of teachings came from that area, that place. And today, it's the same thing. What do? We involve our children. We have our grandchildren, 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, that participate with us. And so this is the reason why I'm here and requesting a new lodge for our dances. It's been, I think, a couple of years. I know, when we're in there using it, it drips. So that's why we wanted a new roof. And then they looked at all the logs below and there's some rotting going on. And so they just said, no, they can't repair it. But I think at that time, we ask, okay, well, what are we gonna do? Well, I'm asking here today that we already have plans. One of the community members did plans for a new roundhouse. And I ask for this to be a priority. Mainly because in our way, when there's a pebble in our way, we take care of that now. Because that's telling us something. That's telling us something that down our road, we're gonna see these detours, we're gonna see these pebbles, we're gonna see things that's getting in our way of achieving what we ask for. And I don't want that for me, my people, my children, my grandchildren. I don't want that. We don't want things to block us, prevent us from teaching what we know to our young ones. So I'm telling you, this is big. This is pretty important. We have a few left today that still do this kind of work. And I see it as a pebble in our way. It's been 2.5 years since that building's been looked at. Figuring that someone in here would step up. Someone in here would know what this building means to us. Part of you were probably here when that one in Dayton, when it came up. You probably heard why we needed this building. Today, those haven't changed. To me, it changed because I'm the elder now. My teachers are all gone. But I see this as it's pretty important. And I don't want any delays. I don't want that. Because you start delaying it, well, what are you doing to me by delaying this? What are you doing to our culture, our traditional ways? What you're doing is blocking it, you're stopping it. Yes, we do go elsewhere. We do go elsewhere. More than we want to. But to have an area where we can go, such as Dayton, to fine tune us, our people, our ways, and to continue on the teachings that I know to our little ones. You come up to our jump dance, you see all the youth in there. I believe there's more youth than we can really take care of. Because when we do things, we do have to go to our homes. And our homes are small. But I see this a pretty big priority here. And I don't want to delay, because like I said, that's delaying my road, my path, my footsteps. It's stopping me. It's stopping us as an Indian in Elmo, Dayton, Big Arm, and throughout this reservation. It's stopping us, and that's no good. That's no good in our way, and that's no good. So I don't know who would be in charge of this. You know, I'm gonna come to bat for our handful. But who do I come to bat with? Who is it? Who am I gonna talk to see that this is carried on? To see that next year I'm not in here doing the same thing. Because this is how important it is to us. I think you guys understand where I'm coming from. You understand your parents when they built a lodge, a sweat house. the same thing here. Many reasons why your parents had sweat house, why they built it, why they didn't wait, why they didn't beat around the bush about it. Because that's their livelihood, that's their life, that's their road. That's to get to tomorrow, next year, the years on. That's how important it is to me. So if you have any comments, but I want this to go.
Tom and then Carol.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey, Junior, thank you for coming in, and I remember, I think something last year about it. Maybe I was talking to Joe, who was staying up there. Anyway, the plans, you said you have some plans for,
Yes.
do you have costs with that? Is there any estimates of costs?
There was cost, I don't know the cost, and I looked at these plans, they were at, I believe, one of the Kootenai Culture Committee meetings.
Okay,
The person that had the plans, and she got input, and, you know, they do have the plans.
okay.
And I don't know, to me, they look good. They look like something where,
My recommendation would be is that you work through with Tony Incastrola Jr., and that would be the person that you would work with to try to make sure it's in the works, you know, for either this budget cycle or immediately next budget cycle or whatever, you know, whatever you can do. There might be some different funding for it, but I think that would be what I would recommend. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
yeah, he's aware, because he comes to our meetings and we ask about it, and there's not much more that's taking place with it. There's not much more that's happening with it. So once we give it to Tony, I don't know where he goes. Because they have a time and a period for updates, and that's never included in the updates. So, but I'll remember that. I'll talk with him. I don't know if he's gonna be up here in Elmo tomorrow or not. But I'll even go to where to get these plans and show it to him and let him look at it. Yeah.
Carol, go ahead.
Yeah, the last major overhaul I remember was when Alec was still alive and Joe Dupuy was in office. And I remember them doing a major work on it. And then from that point on, it's been little fixes here and there, what I can remember. But one point of clarification on the funding, we've always used tribal dollars due to the fact that and it's always maintained, like places like this, we don't use grant funds, because then the outside public has access, because those are dollars that are paid by taxes. That way we use tribal dollars to make sure that nobody else can just say, you know, this is a building built by government money. This is our own tribal dollars, and that's what keeps people from these places being used. And the other point I wanted to bring up, Junior, is that I brought up a number of times now, even with Jordan, on the funding for that resource position in the Kootenai. And so I know he's looking for it, but it has come up a couple of times and I brought it up, so.
Okay, and there's another. What money is that 100,000? What money is that? I was here last year, 2 years ago, when Tom was talking about that. And he kind of told me to go and take the lead. So I did. And as I was going, the other people started putting their hands in there. We gotta do this, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, while I kind of backed off. And, well, there's nothing being done. What we did is, we were using it to improve the youth playground park in Elmo. We got quotes for a basketball court. We got quotes for the playground equipment, blah, blah, blah. And Lance came and said, well, we gotta do this and we gotta do this, we gotta have a meeting, and So, yeah, okay, well, I waited for that meeting and Leonard spoke up on it. Have a meeting, it's never happened. So we're just sitting here and everybody's getting their skate parks, blah, 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 and this is what we wanted. To improve the ball diamond, the basketball courts, the playground, and I'm thinking for the youth. I'm not thinking nothing for me. You know, our youth today still use that little tiny playground. They're still over there, you know? But I went out of my way to get quotes for the basketball courts and for the swings, the teeter-totters, or what, all that stuff. We got quotes and everything, but I kind of got, I guess, stopped. In a way, they didn't come up and tell me to, hey, back off. But just what they said they were gonna do, how they were gonna do it. So I kind of backed off. So I just want to know where you guys stand on this, because I'll continue. I don't think there's too many people that'll argue with me about me getting stuff for our youth. You know, that's where I thought best suit was our youth. And we thought about a skate park, but yeah, they're nice, they're beautiful, but to me, in Elmo, you're gonna have about 5 of them. And you're gonna spend $200,000 on 5 of them. Maybe we get it 15 more, I'll grab a skateboard and go in there, but, you know, and they'd probably use it for a million other things, but I figured a basketball court, they all play basketball. And the playground equipment, trees with water and park or green grass, you know, that atmosphere.
Junior, you know, the skate park are happening with money besides that 100,000.
Well, I was
So
told, I was told somebody met 100 with that 100,000.
No, it's besides that 100,000.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
so that would still be a possibility. I think they're still talking about the possibility, aren't they, Carol? So,
We've got money for bathrooms and we've ordered
Yeah.
one for each one of these
So-
locations, so.
Yeah, so Junior, I appreciate you working. I know Leonard's been doing stuff too, and so we need to obligate that 100,000 per community by the end of December.
Yeah.
And have to be spent by
Yeah.
the end of 26.
Yeah,
And if there's some other matching program to do some youth, you know, facilities, playground or skate park, then that doubles your money. I mean, that leverages that 100,000, you can build twice as much, or maybe not, maybe 1.5 times, maybe 3 times as much. And that's kind of the way the skate parks are looked at. Carol and I are also sitting on what we call push play for the Flathead Reservation. And they have some grant money, and that's what you call real cool. I call it really cool playground equipment where it's like animals and it's interpretation and you can put language and stuff with it. You can customize it really nice.
yeah,
And make it multi-age. So, you know, an 85-year-old could go play with a 5-year-old on the playground equipment. That's kind of real cool too, but
Yeah.
that might be a little bit farther out. I don't know how we're going to swing that one, but what we want to do is make sure that you know, whatever Len brings forward to us, me as a representative at large, I'm going to support whatever your community is, and all the projects got to come before here. We'll put the rubber stamp on it.
yeah,
And then Gregory Spar will identify the money. If we have whatever lands department or whatever department needs to help chip in or work on it, we'll assign them that task. So still got, you know, a couple of months. I think basketball courts are a great idea. You know, whatever Lem brings forward is really what I'm going to support. So,
yeah.
I'm just wondering who the they is that you said really slowed you down.
Well, Mark was up there and he was doing something. He talked about this money, he was doing something.
well, he did something with the baseball dugouts or thing.
Oh, yeah,
That came out as some of that money.
Yeah,
Some
yeah.
money's been used.
It wasn't that, because he was at our KCC meeting when I talked about it, but I don't know if Len remembers what Mark said, but we have to have meetings or we have to do something. I can't remember what it was, but it halted me. I, you know, listened to, I didn't know he was part of it. Because I was here and Tom told me to, you know, gave me the go-ahead to go forward with it. And I started doing that, and then these guys started coming in and we gotta do this, we gotta do that, and You know, they kind of took over the reins there, so I backed off.
In Hot Springs, we've just gotten a group of the community members together to discuss what they want. And
Yeah.
it's totally up to those
Yeah.
community members
Yeah.
what we'll do. And they've made a few decisions, but it's
Yeah,
kind of slow going too, but it's
Yeah.
just the community doing it, so.
yeah, and it was brought up by the Culture Committee that this money was there and what do we want to do with it, and no
Go
one
ahead.
really said anything, and I was just taking what,
Yeah.
you know, Tom told me that this money was here, and,
Yeah.
you know, go ahead, let's do something, so I started moving along in those lines,
Go
you
ahead, Len.
know?
All right, thank you, Mike, and members of the council. Junior, thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it's been, I've been having a lot of conversations with community members in Elmo. Everybody has their, idea, right? About how, but the common idea was that we do something for the kids. All right. Yes, I'm gonna be having a meeting here in October. I'm just trying to figure out what a good date is for all, so I can get the right staff people there. And then we'll, start that process. But, it's just, trying to, make it a fair process. For
Making
everybody.
what?
A fair process. That everybody, gets an opportunity to, share their opinions on how this be done. Because, right now, I mean, for a lot of community members are seeing skate parks, right? And some of them are wanting to see skate parks in Elmo. And then there's a lot of things that we can do over there. But I just want to make sure that, the process is fair, that everybody, and we all know how that works. Not everybody's going to agree with the idea that, that we all go forth with at the end of the day, but it's gonna happen. It'll happen, so,
Well, I know it's gonna happen, but it's been a year,
yeah. It's been 2 years, Junior.
and,
Go ahead, Carol.
you know, so you were waiting for a meeting, we're waiting for this,
Exactly.
you know,
You know what, the driving force behind ours was that young boy, Terrence Lozo, who got the 1,000 signatures, and that drove the whole process for Ronan. And then it's jumped to Arlie and then their basketball courts. So, you know, I think like yourself is the driving force, Junior. And so Len needs to kind of depend on you maybe to get that public meeting going and find out and to take a vote and get moving, because we would hate to have to lose this money for that community. But I like the idea of playground equipment and a baseball field. I know you guys use it, so basketball court definitely needs to be there, but yeah, whatever. So just get moving.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm here just to get it going again, cause it died off again. It died off.
It sounds
And I
like,
ask for updates and we don't get updates. I ask for update on this, we don't get it. You know, they're beating around the bush. Every month we go back, we ask and they write it down again. Like Leonard said, it's been 2 years.
well, it sounds like Lynn has a target for a meeting, so I hope that happens. Martin?
My advice to you, Junior, would be to bring it up again tomorrow at the Elders Committee. You guys are a big part of the community there in Elmo, and really drive it from there. And, we have 2 months to do this, to obligate that funding, and so time is of the essence. So, I'm having a district meeting the end of this month for part of that very reason, get our community together, so, stay on it, stay on us, so, and your representative.
Yeah, we went as far as getting quotes for everything and we, Treasure State, and there's another other outfit in our area that didn't give us a quote. They said, no, we're not going to. A place out of Kalispell gave us a quote on everything. And we asked Treasure State, and there's another one, for the basketball court, and they didn't give us one. They said, no, So I asked 3 people and 1 came through, and so we have those. So,
That
I'll
sounds like
bring it-
you got a
I'll
good
bring it up
start.
again tomorrow at the KCC meeting and, we'll go from there, but I just wanted on the record that, I want this to go, I knew at one time there was a deadline, but yeah, it's right there and, we'll see what comes out tomorrow. But,
Well, you're on the record.
yeah, okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Junior.
Yeah.
Francis. Francis Ald. Come on up, Francis. Morning.
I believe you all know me. I don't know you guys. Hey. Anyway. This project or this subject that I'm gonna bring up will probably make me cry. And I was telling some other people about it and they said, well, tell us when you're going over there for that walk and we wanna come. So I thought, well, I'm gonna go by myself because I just wanna cry alone. This is in regards to the opioid settlement monies. And as we know, that's been cornered into a savings, I believe, in a bank to collect interest. From what I've been understanding and reviewing in the Charcusta and all that kind of stuff. And everybody's kind of going like this. I'm not too sure what that means. And I was just going to say, somebody needs to make a statement about it. And I know who that man is that's going to make a statement about it. And I hope it's correct. Because I heard he gave me the authority to watch over this money. Hey, go ahead, Tom.
Go ahead, Tom.
Hey, thanks, Francis, for coming in. We're gonna expend the money on an annual basis, but it would be that interest that's accrued from, it's like a trust fund, so it would be there to help us with fighting addiction and this opioid problem, because I just don't know it's ever gonna go away. And so I didn't want to, and it was a strong recommendation from me to try to set up a trust account. And then we would operate annually off that interest and support projects that come forward, meaningful projects, whether it's a convention or a gathering or, whatever it might be. And so that way it's always there and we'll always have it. So we want to expend it, and it's set up that way right now. And so there's money available right now to be put on the ground, but not the full amount. Of course, that has to stay and builds interest, and so we have it forever. So it's those projects that need to come forward, and we can fund them. That's where we're at.
I appreciate that, Tom. Which brings to the next point. I went to a conference, me and my daughter, down in Billings about a week ago. It was put together by business people that's called the White Bison. And I don't know how many of you here may have heard about that, who the White Bison people are. And it's been projected by an individual. His name is Don Cahoyas. He's got a board of elders that sit with them, and they create different types of workshops. They do a yearly gathering as such. And like always, when I go to those kind of doings, I get all hyped up and all peppered up because I'm into sobriety. I'm into those kind of things. And I know how hard it is throughout Indian country that things come up, and how has it helped to help with younger people. We just got done talking about youth, and not only the youth, I mean the parents and even the elders in that situation. Everybody needs some kind of a sobriety communication. So those are the things that I want to kind of present and have the council move on it. What I'd like to do is I spoke with some individuals in that, White Bison, people's staff, and they're already looking at probably 2025 to do another conference. So I don't know what the projection after that, but I wanted to talk with those individuals to see if we could get one here to do that. And if do they, in their process, do they communicate with the governing bodies of that tribe, those kind of things? And so I want to make sure those are clarified as we proceed this discussion forward if we bring these people on. The thing was that the gathering probably, I'm guessing had 200-300 registered people. And these people, they came from Arizona, they came from New Mexico, California, and different parts of the country, and enjoying to share the sobrieties of the methods and the things that they use and how they do it and such and such. You know, they did a lot of emotional discussions of so forth. And I don't know if you guys remember, her name's Henrietta Mann. She's a professor down in at the U, or was. She's on the board of that committee. But if there's a process that they need to contact the council, I hope you're available to do that and to set that up whenever that's going to happen. I'm guessing maybe 2026 would be the around where they can come into the area. And hopefully we have enough accommodation type of things that could accommodate them and that process. So it's one of the steps that would be like an opening factor in this project of funding. Now, after that, I'd like to see the CSKT provide an annual gathering of such. You have people that's getting out of jail, you have people that's going to prison, you have people that's going into treatment. And what I'm kind of lacking and observing is when these people come out, the big thing is you guys should go to meetings. You know, I don't know how many of you are here are into sobriety or work a program of such. And there's a lot of work that goes into that kind of a thing. And so there's that process, but then afterwards, there's a sharing process. And that's when these convention type things or conference type things come together where individuals share their stories and it pumps them up and it keeps them going. I know we have things in this reservation, you know, we have closed homes now. We have a hub area that has meetings, but then I'd like to see that expand a little bit more, inviting other people to come in and to do that sharing of sobriety and wellness living. That's my comment.
It's a good comment. Thoughts, anybody? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. No, Francis, I talked about this before, but one of those things, what's really important about what he's saying is that when you bring people together, and there's a variety of things, but we're not doing enough. We never do enough. But when you have that, it's kind of like a motivational thing, and it creates momentum, and you re-energize people, and it spreads, and it just grows with that. So, plus you get to know new techniques, new things that might be working for different things that are going on. So, I think an annual thing is really important. I think what Francis was talking about is bringing like Buffalo here is really important too. I just don't know if we have a big enough spot. That's probably what the only issue is. I can't remember what Quatucknuck's thing is, but certainly the college gym's pretty good size. So I support Francis 100%.
Carol.
You know, recently, our drug court coordinator, I believe she's the one that, and it may have been your daughter who drove a bunch down to Billings for a Wellbriety, which I think is something that helps lift them up too. And I'm noticing more meetings around this community. And then also, I think, Mr. Chair, and I brought this up many times about having a place in each community where you can go, because a lot of these people don't live here in Pablo, but they go home and they would like to share what they're doing in their community. So if we can identify locations in communities where they have a place to go and be sober throughout the day, if they don't have transportation, they can, put a pool table in there, and a place for meetings and coffee, and just a place to go and rest and be away from all the noise that goes on outside of the, in their communities. And it'll start bringing more people in. I really believe that. And I just see it here. I see like the one that was talked about yesterday that, even though it's a religious, AA meeting, it's still, people are coming and people are just wanting something a little bit different. And so it was kind of nice for me when I went too, and it was different for me than your regular AA. So I think people are doing things a little bit different to kind of, but I think the excitement of having Don Coes and the White Bison come in, I think that would be great, whether it's Missoula, right here, or Kalispell. I think we need to do it, and I'm excited, and I'll help any way I can and be a part of it. But I know you have a place in Elmo that people can go, and I really felt good there because it was just surrounded with all kinds of good things, positive things. And so anyway, this excites me, so I'll do whatever I can to help.
Jennifer?
Yeah, hi Francis, good
Hi.
to see you. Thanks for bringing this good idea in, and I think it'll help a lot of people. And I think whatever works for people, we need to do that. And if there's anything we can do, and like Tom said, we're not doing enough, we can always do more to help people. So thank you for coming today. Good to see you.
Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And, yeah, I had the opportunity to, and that, to attend the Wellbriety Conference last week, and there's just a different kind of energy there that I noticed. And, to be around, to be around all these people that they all had stories. They all had stories that they shared, and they were powerful stories. And Francis mentioned this to me while we were over there about having these types of events here on our reservation. And I've already reached out to people, so we got people working on it now, about providing the funding anyway, not the planning process, but the funding. And but we definitely need to have these types of gatherings again. It was just a unique atmosphere to be in after attending numerous conferences throughout my council career. This is the one that I really I felt different. I felt accepted, and it was what was really neat about it was everybody was happy. Everybody was happy, and it was just good to be around. But I appreciate you bringing this forward and continue to bring this up, because it definitely needs to happen, and we can make it happen. So, but I appreciate you bringing this in.
One
Francis,
final comment?
Yeah, I got a question for you. What time of year is the best to maybe dedicate for this annual conference or meeting or whatever we want to call it? Is it this time of year? Should we dedicate a week out of October?
Actually, anytime. There's nothing wrong with having a bunch of sober Indians around. But then,
You need to tell
Yeah.
that to Tim Sheehy.
pardon?
Tell that to Tim Sheehy.
Don't bring that name up because I was gonna vote for him. Nah. But anyway, I think it would be any time of the year. I mean, to balance, like, it was just last week, they had that, October, November, those kind of times that where the tribes kind of are doing, like what you guys are addressing here, and the proper directions of balancing things out. But I would assume it's any time. And so as I proceed with this discussion, hopefully, I know they're pretty busy. As I proceed and ask if they need to contact the council, so maybe one of you will be contacted. I guess I'd give your name out to if there's a contact need to be. Other than that, we'll keep pressing along and look at what kind of a timetable they're gonna have. As I'm projecting back, it'll go to 2026 maybe. So I'll project, you know, times in there and whatever time for them and so forth. And I'll continue to talk with the council. I had somebody, I talked to somebody about it before, brought that up, and then they projected and talked with somebody else, and then somebody else was brought up, and then I ended up contacting with Patty Hibbler. And so she's aware of this as we go forward with this type of discussion. So I'm going to use her as a primary for the time being, and use yourself as a primary at the time being. But I appreciate the awareness that you guys are witnessing so far, and I hope that it works out and it gets goes into a growth. And that's part of what I wanted to conclude here with, that opioid settlement monies, so that we could have a track that would come in to provide yearly conference or something. Thank you.
Thank you, Francis. I would really like to think about having a week dedicated to celebrating sobriety out of the year somewhere. If we can figure out what week it might be. So, Francis.
And this will be an open, Francis wanted to keep it in an open.
Come on up, Francis.
Some better answers for Frank, so we can get him an update today.
Can you describe the process after TAMS?
So it goes in and it gets encoded in their system, approved through there, and then a check goes down to lockbox. And it matches with an invoice in there, and then from there it's distributed out to his IIM account. And so I'm just trying to find out, we'll find out for him where exactly that is all at and get him a better like estimated time frame for when he can get his payment.
So the steps in the basic process are pushed into the TAMS processing. Once it's in TAMS processing, then it goes to lockbox. So can you describe what lockbox is?
So that's a system that we have to do any trust payments through. That's down in St. Louis currently. And so the payment will go there. It'll match up with the receipts and stuff that we send down with his deeds. And then it's matched in their system, and then that is distributed directly out to IIM accounts. Yeah.
And we don't have an actual time schedule on how long it takes in any one of these spots.
No, kind of once it leaves us and goes through their processing, it's kind of, their staff and on their timeframes. But, yeah, I'll try to get him an answer today.
What other questions do you have, Francis?
Well, my question is, when we agreed to do this land deal, I was told that, you didn't have any money in your account to purchase the land. And then in October, that, October 1st, that the money would be there and it'd be dispersed to me. So, what I was looking at is nothing has really transpired. Every time I try and get a hold of somebody, I'm put off to the side or no contact back. So I'm beginning to wonder why it is that I have to go through this process. And I was told not long ago by Mike that in the first week in October that I would have my payment. Now, I took it upon, because I didn't want to sell it outright to non-tribal members, so I wanted to sell it to the tribe. And I agreed upon that because I took you guys' word that this would all been done a long time ago. But I keep on coming up, pumping logs against it has to go this process and this process, it has to go here, it has to go there. And I've had enough of that, What I'd like to see you do is write me out a check, and then you guys, whenever that stuff hits my IIM account, it goes right back to you. So that's where I'm sitting at. No more waiting for me. I mean, I had enough of this waiting in line too.
Don't know what to tell you beyond what process Holly's described to you, right?
Well, then I'm looking at a breach of verbal contract then, because that's, like I said, I went by your guys' word. Like I said, I didn't want to see that land go to anybody else. And it's been a while since, it's taken forever.
Carol?
Yeah, I know in the past, and Holly, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if this type of process, but we have given advances before. We have done advances before, but it hasn't been the full amount. Do you know if that's possible in this circumstance, or is the money that it goes to that lockbox and all that kind of stuff different than when we gave advances to other individuals? And I don't even know if Frank would be amenable to an advance. He probably needs the whole amount because of his condition. So I just don't know.
I think the payment should be pretty close to being done, but if that was something that you guys wanted to do, we would just have to get that updated in the system probably and maybe pull back what was in there and then kind of have to reissue or restart that process for it's right at the end. Yeah.
Go ahead, Len.
So,
Mr. Chairman and members of the council, as I recall, when we some years ago we tried doing that process, and what it did was it prolonged the land sale payment process. So although they did get it in advance, they still had to wait X amount of months to go through the process again, and it's not our fault. It's part of the TAMS process that Portland put into place right now. But here's the issue I have is, so we brought this up to the executive team, the executive staff member, and the department head. Neither of who are here. And we gave them a clear directive on getting these land sales done because we have others that are still waiting. And we're still here we are. And it's just it's all about accountability, you know. But that's just my opinion. That does not solve Frank's problem here today. The fact of the matter is, it's just a process that's beyond our control, and there's really nothing we can do. But anyway,
Frank, I've always shared with you the best information that I've had, and I've never made an outright promise, but I've shared with you the best information. And that information that we had, it's been almost a month ago now, was that the first week was what the target was. And I apologize that it hasn't happened, but it is in process and the money has been devoted to it. It's a federal process. And I apologize for not having you an actual dead-on date, and I've never tried to give you a dead-on date. And you know that.
Well, trust is where my issue's at mostly right now. You know, I've trusted you, and I don't know if you had any trust in me or not, but I've always tried to be the best I could. So I usually go by a person's word. And when I give my word, I make sure that it's there. Like I said, I'm tired of listening to lies, tired of people not getting back to me, and let's get it done. I mean, let's get this over with. As far as I see right here, is that you've already taken control of the land. So, you know, that to me, that's like theft without payment. You know, where am I looking at them? You know, I'm stuck here and I have to read stuff like this where it's already been taken care of, and it hasn't. You know, final process here hasn't been completed. And not, like I said, pay me and then you guys can worry about the IAM accounts and stuff. Tired of this.
You say we've taken control of land. What has happened?
It's right here in the minutes.
That we buy the land, yeah, definitely. That's in the minutes that we've taken actual possession of the land. I don't know that.
Well, it says that delegated representative is authorized exec by his transaction documents necessary to complete the conveyance of the real property situated. So
It's saying that we're making the deal and it's going forward. That's exactly right. That's what that means. And so I don't think anybody will do anything on your land until that money is in your hands. And as you've heard Holly say, she's going to check in to see if she can find out precisely what's happening at this moment. But she's outlined what the process is, and it is happening. And I'd hate to interrupt that process.
well, when was this process started? Shouldn't have been started a while back.
I would believe it probably started when the money became available. Go ahead, Holly.
That, and then, the day when Stormy went down and met with you and had you sign. It started that day. So has been a couple weeks. So I do understand his frustration.
But Holly is going to check in and get back to you today, and I will actually call you tonight to make sure that's happened.
Well, what's wrong with my suggestion is that you just pay me and then you guys worry about it.
Don't have a checkbook to do that with, I'm sorry.
You can't
Payment
do
is
that.
happening
You can't
according.
do this. You can't give me an exact time. Like I said, I'm tired of hearing words that never exist. So where are we at?
I think Holly will tell you exactly where it's at as soon as she can find that out via the superintendent's office and St. Louis, it sounds like.
You know, I'm about ready to maybe not do this thing, maybe just asking for my deed and stuff and forget the whole thing. You know, because I offered the tribe the land. Like I said, I didn't want to see it go to anybody else, so I offered it to them, and this is what I was told, and it hasn't happened.
Understood, and it is your prerogative. If you want to stop the deal right now, that can happen.
When will this happen? I'm finding out the information that,
As soon as we leave here. But I did call over to the superintendent's, so they might have an answer.
well, we'll go by the end of the day then.
Thank you, Frank.
IT,
Good morning. Good morning. How is everybody?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the rest of the council.
Good morning. Like you got a grant you're after, huh?
Actually, we already was awarded the grant. We're actually now looking for approval to move into a contract for the project manager services portion of that grant. It hasn't been through contracts and grants yet, but it is in legal review. So, but the cost of it, we have to have council approval.
Any questions? Go ahead, Carol. Yep. Motion to move forward with the contract with Essentia.
Correct.
Second by Tom. Any questions? Go ahead, Carol.
You know, I thought I heard, is Jordan still in here? In the minutes or in your executive minutes, I thought him looking at all the programs and see what best fits for their program. I thought the whole whole idea of IT was to make sure that we were all on the same system. I don't know, I'll have to go back in the executive. I don't think you guys get the executive minutes, but yeah, I'll have to look at that because it kind of confused me when I seen that comment, and then all of a sudden now I thought we were all one system. And maybe I could be misspeaking. Anybody else see those minutes, those executive minutes that came out? There's two sets on one page. No, yeah, the most recent one.
Just a point of clarification, we're talking about, this is for the project manager for the tribal broadband connectivity program grant that we received a couple years ago.
Was an off question.
Okay, all right, I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
I'm sorry. But maybe we should just move on. I can ask Jordan what he meant and then get clarification from Renee.
Well, take the vote on the motion that's at hand. All in favor? Unanimous. So, yeah, move forward with the management contract.
All right, thank you.
Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Lisa was at AT&I last week, and AT&T, is that it? They have a grant program for first responders. It's a telecommunication. Are you familiar with that at all?
I had heard about it in a conference that I had went to as well and had forwarded that information on to IT to see if we were a part of that system because it's a free service.
Yeah,
We've started looking at that, especially we are wanting to replace and upgrade the radio infrastructure that currently our first responders are using, which is old. So we're looking to
exactly.
utilize
Goes
those
back to my
funds.
brother's
Yeah.
days when he was doing it.
Yeah, so we're hoping to both expand on the tribal police radio system as well as potentially roll in the fire control to where we're on a unified system, and then supplement also the BIA funds they can access for additional handsets and other things. At the current moment, bandwidth as far as staffing is the biggest roadblock to us proceeding. We're trying to get this going so that we have some time to look into those other options.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're aware of it because it looked like a really good program, you know, just bringing everything up to speed, all comprehensive, all for fire, emergency, ambulance, you know, whoever. It looked like a pretty good program. But at tie, you have to do some service with AT&T. Anyway, just want to make sure you're looking at it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Len.
Sharon, I'm going to oppose on this. I don't have all the information here that I need to make an informed decision.
On that last vote, Len is voting no. Motion still carries. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Can I ask real quick too, Len, is there anything that you would like to see?
Well,
Just, I know it's already passed, but something that would help you.
I would like to know what we're paying this company.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Do that.
Yeah, we can give you all that information. We went through the procurement process and we reached out to over 50 different agencies to solicit bids. I think we got 9 back and we ended up with 4 finalists. All of them were above budget, and IT negotiated with 2 of the companies to get them down, and this company actually met our budget at a fixed price, and then we got a fixed price for the travel as well at an additional 40,000. So we're almost exactly on target with the budget for it.
Were there any Indian-owned companies that bid on the project?
Any what?
Indian-owned.
There, I believe there is it Gray Snow? Gray Snow had the certification, but I think their bid was, do you have the numbers?
Sorry, it was way exceeding our budget, our planned budget.
It was almost 3 times our budget.
All right, thank you.
Other questions? Have a good day. Linda, come on up.
Good morning. So, I'm here this morning to get approval. I have 2 project-specific agreements from Montana Department of Transportation. I think the last time they were here, they gave you guys some updates about these projects. So these are just for, the, preliminary design for both of these. The first one on page 10 is for, the preliminary design for the US 93 North 9 pipe section. They gave some examples of the site investigations that they're going to be doing are going to be including surveying, geotechnical exploration, wetland delineation, and utility mapping. And then, so this is for the preliminary design. And when we do, I'll come back later when we're ready to do a construction project specific agreement. So this will just be for preliminary design.
Questions?
Motion?
Motion by Tom to approve the request on, what is it, preliminary design project?
Yeah, preliminary design.
Second
and
by Danielle. All in favor? We got unanimous. Did we lose Martin? So we have actually 7-4 and Martin out of the room. Go ahead.
All right. And next one starts on page 12. And this one is for preliminary design for US 93 wildlife overpass and roadway construction. Same kind of I guess stuff that they'll be doing, like surveying, geotechnical exploration, stuff like that. And then I'll also come back later with a construction project specific agreement when we're ready to do that.
Go ahead, Tom.
Motion to approve the PSA for the wildlife overpass on US 93.
Motion by Tom. Second by Bing. All in favor? We got 7-4 and Martin out of the room.
And then I just have to come up and get your signature on both of these, Mike.
Thank you, Melinda, and we'll take a short break. 10 minutes. What? 10:30.
10:30-ish.
Flashing lights at 10:30.
Okay. No feedback this time. Great. Would you like me to begin again? Okay. Good morning, Tribal Council, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. For the record, my name is Charmel Gillen. I'm the department head for your Tribal Records Management Department. I wanted to begin by acknowledging the individuals who put a lot of time into the preparation for this department and got it where it's at today. Kermit Clary was hired in 2021 when the department first came onto the tribe's organization chart, and he finished his temporary employment agreement in September of this year. And Brenda Shepard was also a part of the team. She served as administrative assistant through May of 2024. So I'll start on the PowerPoint presentation that you have in your packet. If you'll look at the second slide, I just want to acknowledge that everything that's gone into the preparation of this department bears in mind the tribal vision and mission statement. We believe that the Tribal Records Management Department will be an integral part of the tribe's self-sufficiency and helping it move toward greater levels of self-determination. The Records Management Department is here to support the tribe's sovereign right to self-govern by regulating the creation, retention, use, and disposition of the official recordings of tribal resources, information assets, and cultural assets. We foresee a central repository for electronic and physical records management systems and providing scanning and disposal services to the tribal departments and program level management teams. To date, there has been a lot of work that's gone into drafting policy and designing procedures through the activity of conducting assessments on site with different departments and program managers so that we could identify what their record repositories are today, what the processes are that they are using for records management at their workplaces, and helping to develop an understanding of their needs and to establish additional goals. So again, we believe that the Records Management Department on your behalf will be important in providing an organizational-wide records management system that will achieve a higher level of self-governance, and it is a very important area of federal regulation.
Tom, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Charmel, thank you for coming in. I have one question. Does this include the corporations?
At this point, I would say no, but I would also say that this is a part of our development phase in which, as the leadership here further defines and clarifies its goals, then we would adjust accordingly. But the organizational wide focus at this point is just over your particular organizational chart, which, you know, includes all of the contracts that have been taken to perform the services, the federal funded services that we do through the 93-638 contracts. And that's the primary emphasis, I think, on being compliant with the federal regulation at this point. Thank you for that question. So if you move on to the slide that's titled Enterprise Approach, this is a graphic that I've shared with directors and department heads to help them begin understanding what it is that we're talking about doing. And we teamed up with the Information Technology Department. We have regular cooperative meetings to do this planning. So in understanding an enterprise approach to records management, this just portrays that we have end users who use all of the applications and software tools on the far left of this graphic. They're able to capture information, create and capture information in the different softwares that are provided by the IT department. It could be either cloud-based or it could be on-premises capture mechanisms. Then when you move over to the store and manage part, that's where the enterprise organization-wide would store and manage all of that information that's captured so that when it's put out to share on the far right of this graphic and provided for information resources, that you have a level of confidence and assurance that everything that was stored and managed in one spot is you know, the most reliable version of that information and the authentic version of that information that's needed. If you go to the next slide, this is a little more depictive of the current status of our system today for records management. And you'll see in that store and manage area of this graphic, I've duplicated the store and manage circles because there are uncounted at this time, unknown depositories or repositories right now at different locations for various systems that have been deployed for particular programs. There are multiple shared drive areas that digital electronic data is stored on. There are several warehousing areas. You're aware of some of the basements and closets and different filing areas for physical files. So there's a large variety of storage areas that are being managed in a equal variety of ways, depending on a person's time that they have to spend managing those resources, for example. So that's where we're at currently with the records management. If we go to the next slide, Lisa asked that I would spend some particular time doing more of a gap analysis. So interviewing people in the field, talking with directors, department heads, and program managers to find out a little bit more about what they're doing, what their questions are, what their needs are, and the status of the records that they're keeping. So with that, we were able to produce a report, and I've just pulled out some of the main highlights of that report for you. And I'll go through that just a little bit. And if you have any questions, we can talk about it in more depth. So first of all, the analysis shows that it's very important that we come together with a strategic focus for enterprise records management. Just as the vice chairman pointed out, there's opportunities before you that, you know, we just need to figure out what that strategic focus could and should be. So in doing that, when the leadership is going out with a new, you know, communicating new objectives, it's helpful to have policy in place. It's helpful to increase our level of commitment. So that's an area that is definitely evident in our analysis of where we're at, that we do have a variety of procedures. We have an absence of procedures, and we could use a lot more strategic focus on how we might build the policy and procedures to guide. That would give us a lot greater assurance in the field as well. In talking with a lot of the people who are in charge of records, they have a lot of unease. There's a lot of unease that they are experiencing because of just wanting to have more standards in place that they can be comfortable following. So strategic focus will bring greater communication, that they can understand that we're all working toward the same goals, of course. So the next area is in the area of standards. So overall, like I said, a lot of the records custodians that are working out in their programs, they are somewhat they're ready for more clarification on what regulations are that cover their particular record sets. So we want to be able to help them work through understanding what those standards are according to the guidelines of their programs. And we have shared a lot of that information so far. We're getting ready to boost our communication with regard to those standards. Some of the things that we have learned according to the research is the storage facility requirements and the upgrades that are necessary. So one of the areas that is in dire need of improvement, of course, is the storage methods of some of the records. And when you think of the variety of records that you have, the cultural assets that are included, the historical assets, some of the things that maybe are on legal hold or of legal concern for you, there's a huge need to put a lot more thought into how those are being stored, you know, who holds the inventory of those records, how they understand what the retention requirements are on those, where they're located, who should have access to that, and so forth. So setting up some standards is very important. Retention guidelines is a huge area of need. Like I said, people are ready to get more information about what those guidelines and requirements are for their different types of records. There's a variety of information available, but not an understanding of which ones focus and how they should apply to the particular records that they hold. As an example, you might look at the accounting policy that has a records retention schedule in it. I'm working with Bill Biarco and Chanel Tigan, and we're making some recommendations on what those general record schedules could and should look like. But in putting those forward, we want to make sure that everybody understands which record sets they're holding. Are they the primary holders of those finance records, or are they secondary holders? And maybe they're just holding temporary records. So there's some misunderstanding at this point. So there's a lot of duplication in field offices where they might be holding records that they believe to be accounting records that should be held for a specific number of years, whereas those are actually temporary records and should be held for a shorter period of years. So those guidelines are in need of being provided, and training to help people understand how to recognize where those guidelines apply. This next area of the gap analysis, you know, we do have an over-reliance on paper, and we're not the only ones in the world who do. I think that the generation, the baby boomers, you know, those of us who have just grown into the information technology space that we're in today, we do have a very large reliance on paper, and understandably so. We want to be able to support a shift into the more recent technology-based solutions for this type of work. And I think that, you know, in analyzing this particular point, I want to acknowledge the fact that the newer generations that are coming into the workforce are not going to be as happy to be as reliant on paper as we are. So, overall in the big picture, I think the organization will do well to recognize that there is a high level technology-based user coming into your workforce. And in retaining them and keeping them engaged and productive and, happy in their work, they're going to want to put all of this technology to use. So that's going to help us move where the federal government has already moved in a real shift toward paper reduction and digital and electronic records. Data management on shared drives is another area that's of great concern. And as I mentioned, there are multiple areas of shared drives that have an incredible number of folders and subfolders and users who replicate those folders and subfolders. I know Chuck Sanger was in here speaking with you earlier, and he and I and a few of their team members, we've talked about the fact that those shared drives are in great need of a file management plan. And the reason that that's such a concern is you want to be able to have reliable information. You want to be able to quickly and efficiently retrieve it when it's needed. You want to be able to protect it from people who don't have a need to access it. And so there's a lot that needs to be looked at in the area of data management on those shared drives. So we would like to work with them to implement some file plans and follow up with version control of those records and implement some access and security.
Good, Carol.
I was up in Polson at that vault that they have for water rights. And I always get concerned, and I know that's why they have vaults, is so in case there's a fire. And I know a lot of people can need to use these kind of documents. So how does, I can't get it correct in my head on how people would access that. I mean, do you have to microfiche them all? I mean, that's probably such of an old term, microfiche. And then get them in the system like that, and then people can access them because they're in a certain file at a certain date and all of that. Is that basically how that works?
Yeah, that's exactly the concept that we're working toward for enterprise management. So Kenji Kobayashi has been working on getting the on-base system in place, for example, and digitizing forms and workflows and so forth. Well, our challenge right now is to take an honest look at that system, and a part of the analysis right now is working with different programs and departments and finding out what some of the systems are that they're using, why they're using it, and what might integrate with those systems in the most efficient way. We want to be able to go into those areas where there's a lot of those records that are important. We want to work with the legal team to help identify which are of, the legal hold nature, work with our cultural preservation and culture committees and have them help us understand what they need. But essentially, the department was able to purchase the commercial grade scanner that's sitting upstairs right now, and that's what Kermit and Brenda used to digitize the inactive files that the personnel department has. And so they have some experience in getting those digitized. We learned some lessons in the process of doing that, and that is we need to really take a lot of time and make sure that we're inputting really detailed metadata in there so that retrieval is successful and accurate. And then working with those departments who utilize that paper today and find out how they want it to be stored at this point. What are some of our recommendations on how that should be stored? We do have some secure and better storage facilities options that would improve the situation drastically. So those are some of the things that we're looking forward to doing. So we do want to set a priority.
I think
Yes,
I was
ma'am.
the first person that did microfiche, and I had to sit and do those checks through this thing, and it was like the craziest thing.
Yes, when I worked for Lands years ago, it seems like a lifetime ago, I used to use the microfiche to look at old probate records and whatever. But,
Yeah, with personnel, they actually scanned all the active accounts as well, all of our employee, data, their files. And so it took about a year to scan all of their files into the system because it's just, you have to prep it is the longest time period and then you batch it and get it into the system. So they're actually all electronic with their employee files that are active right now. And it was implemented through this program.
Is there an automated way to get metadata these days, or do you have to read everything?
well, there are no shortcuts to it. I mean, there is an opportunity to use artificial intelligence. And Kenji has been talking with us about that a little bit. There's a lot of interest in that, but there's a lot of cost in it as well. So it is something that, you know, we will rely on the subject matter experts in the departments and programs to be able to sit with them, help them to finalize their inventory of records, help them to look at the filing plan for those, recognize which are the record sets that they're, you know, putting into the system, what are the most relevant terms of those record sets, making sure that we have an understand. One of the things that, excuse me for jumping around here, but it just came to mind. So one of the things that's going to be involved in that process is it would be helpful if every person in their program had a standard operating procedure. So that's something that I think would be really important to support is encouraging managers and program level managers to create those SOPs for their what they do with everything that, you know, from application or first contact with the client or with, you know, the tribal council or whatever it is, begin noting the process that they have to take. And it might seem very tedious, but when we get to the point of inputting that information, we'll have an understanding of, you know, who's retrieving, what they're retrieving for, what are some of the key elements that they're looking for. When you think about our enrollment in IIM records, for example, you know, you might be able to utilize that for supporting, you know, census information about, you know, the age groups, the genders, how many in their household, you know, different things that you might want to know, job situations, education levels, a variety of things. So there's an opportunity and it's like, you know, pretty vast, but working with the leadership and finding out what are some of the things that are most important for you to know. We want to be able to build this system that we're looking at to give you that opportunity to pull good information quickly and be able to rely on it. We'll go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So for fiscal year 2025, I've set up this particular format that Lisa will be using to report to you. And this is in line with your budget ordinance and requirements. You've asked for SMART goals to be established, succession plans to be established. And so that's where this starts. We've begun drafting a succession plan. I've gone over some of the elements with Lisa. At this point, we utilize some of that information to redesign some of the position descriptions that are currently in the benchmarking process. So this kind of shows you some of the steps A through G that will be involved in this first goal. It is hopefully, we're trying to set this up so it is measurable, that we have achievable pieces that can be pulled out and held on to, that the relevancy of those goals are attributable to the guidance and direction that you provided. Everything is time bound. We at least have a general time that we want to see these achieved so that we can be held accountable for these goals. And then reporting the status, any any developments that come up that we want to make special note of, who it's assigned to, what they're doing out in the field, and if they encounter any unusual situations, we can talk about next steps, dependencies and so forth. So you can look at that in as much detail as you'd like. We have a little more detail that we could share with you when needed, but this is the framework for the 2025 work plan for Records Management Department. The next slide will show you the balance of the goals that have been set at this point. And I've incorporated at Lisa's request a more detailed look at the goal number 4. So we have, with the recent campaign of Clear the Paper Clutter that went out last month, we've had about a half a dozen requests for consultations. And so those are broken out for Lisa's viewing, and she can see specifically what the results of those consultations has been, what the activities are that's going to be followed up on with those consultations, and then who's going to do it, how much volume we're looking at, and essentially informing of the type of staffing that's required to accomplish all of the support services that's being requested at this time. This is an example of the current activity that I just spoke about, the Clear the Paper Clutter campaign. I think was a good launch for now. There wasn't a huge response to it, but there was just enough of a response that I think we're going to have some really great projects that come from it. I wanted to show you just a screenshot of the type of activity report that was produced by the first couple of them. These first two, and I would say that this is also revealing additional gaps. The first two that I show here revealed a gap in, I guess, having a strategy for meeting the clearance requirements, background checks, and making sure that we are in a position to access the files that are in need of most support. So IIM is a good example. You know, generally, she when she brings a staff person on, she has to wait several months, like at least 3 months, I think, before they get through the background clearance, and then she can get them put to work. And she's in great need of support right now. We've looked at the records that she has downstairs, and she talked about some of the image quality issues that she has in some of the digitized records that are in her system. So we identified several areas that we can support her with, but before doing that, Lisa and I have discussed that we would prefer to make sure that we are cleared with the appropriate clearances before accessing that type of information. So I've been in contact with the Bureau of Trust Funds Administration records managers. In fact, I'm going to be having a meeting with them again tomorrow, but they're very supportive. I found Lady Michelle Burke out of Portland is really engaged. She actually just contacted me for a meeting tomorrow because she's curious and wants to keep supporting what we're doing. They are records managers, so you know, this is the kind of work they like to see being done out in the field with the tribes. So she checked with her boss. At first said, you guys can probably just go in with your own background clearance and NDA. And then she just did a double check with her boss and then said, we actually recommend that you look at the standard form 86. So that's about a, I don't know, 6 to 8 page form we'll be filling out, getting it in the system so that we can get the clearance to handle the IAM files. Similarly, Maylin requested a consultation. She has a lot of support needs in her area. She would like help in creating an inventory, a file plan, and she would like a standard retention schedule produced by us and provided to her for her records. She'd also like assistance with scanning some of those records into a hard drive. There's a whole room full of several files that need to be scanned, and she said, I just don't have the time or the staff to do it. and her records are, because they're out of the criminal justice system category, you have to have that CJIN certification before you're able to even touch the records. So anybody who does support work for her, she has to be in the room with them because she's the CJIN certified person. So that is similar situation with the reports that come out of the tribal law enforcement and into the court. So in preparation for that type of support, I've asked Lisa to, if she could pursue some review and recommendation from the legal department to kind of look at all of the variety of clearances that are utilized in different areas. So the SF 86 is one by the Bureau of Trust Fund Administration. The CJIN is another one, and that's a nationwide, basically check on your criminal and civil record nationwide. And then there are several levels of the SF 85 and 86 that can come into play. Our IT department utilizes an NDA that was drafted, I believe, by our legal department. I provided that to Lisa. And then we have just the standard NDAs that and confidentiality agreements that are used by Ordinance 69D. So pulling all of that together, I think, and asking the legal department to review that and maybe give us a recommendation if there's a standard that the tribe wants to utilize, basically as a part of our self-governance approach to this work. Yeah, I spent a lot of time on just the certification part of it, but the other gaps that we realize is, we may want to look at a portable shredder like the Tear It Up company, or maybe we want to continue using Tear It Up. Tear It Up does have CJIN certified operators that come and are able to take those documents. So, and then in light of the organization chart and the staffing, I'll let Lisa talk to this somewhat, but in preparation for moving forward, some of the things that I think became evident is that we wanted to take a look at recognizing the two primary operations and programs activities that are required or best suited for records management activities. So this org chart, one of the differences in between it and the one that was previously utilized is it recognizes a program support services division, and then it also recognizes the operations support services division. And just in a nutshell, the differences or the nuances between those is program support services is more of the division that will do the preparation on inventories, file plans, kind of working with end users on the system that we get in place so that they support them when they're creating their records, support them when they're entering metadata. They also would be a very important part of developing training tools as they work with people in the field. They would identify, what are some of the needs for training in the field. So they would help build a curriculum that the records management department would continually deliver to new employees and refresh, just like the finance department does with, their people coming in and pulling together all the business managers. So program services is more on the front end and the field to work with records custodians. The operations support services division is primarily the ones who would take records in, they would manage the warehouse, they would make sure that all of the approvals are in place before records are moved from one place to the other. They would kind of track chain of custody within the system. They would, be making sure that everything's labeled and able to be located and delivered properly, protected. There's a lot more to it, but those are the nuances in the difference between program and operations. We did do a lot of work at Lisa's guidance and request. Of course, you're aware that she's working with human resources consultants, and they're kind of taking a look at how they're realigning some of the ways personnel, I think, approaches, the staffing and so forth. I don't know, I might be speaking a little bit loosely here, but in regards to planning for these positions, it was very helpful to understand the idea that we would incorporate positions and roles and training and career development and succession planning in a way that you see someone can come in at an entry-level position into any one of these jobs. And if it's their career aspiration to grow into being more of a records management professional, there's opportunity for them to receive appropriate training and basically ascend into those higher level positions.
The reason that we did it this way, generally you'll have an org chart where you have a department head, and then you have these different program managers and supervisors. And we found out through the surveys that we did with the HR consultant that employees want to have an opportunity to self-promote if they have that interest, and not know that, oh, that manager job's filled. They're probably going to be there for 10 years, so I'm never going to get that job. So with this org chart, it allows you to start at the tech level and work your way up to the highest officer level within the program, just based on your desire and your drive. So if you're happy being a tech and you just want to keep doing shredding and scanning, then you can stay at the tech level. But if you would like to self-promote yourself and career develop, like she had said, and be more active in a role in the department, you'll get additional training and certifications that allow you to self-promote to the next level. So you're able to self-promote up to that analyst level once you start the job. So you have these extra steps that you can take to earn more income.
Go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you. Have we already got the software then in place, or have you guys already got that, what we're gonna upload everything into?
First of all, I apologize. Kenji wasn't able to join us today. He didn't realize we would be brought in today, so he's on PTO, and I assured him that I would follow up with any questions. But at this point, we don't have a final decision on that particular point, Danielle. I would say that we are working toward incorporating additional levels of use of OnBase, which is the system that we do have in place for the current digitization of forms and workflows. At this stage, we are working toward testing their physical records management capabilities in OnBase. So Kenji just released to me the work environment recently. He's showing me how to get in there and to make modifications and try to test those workflows. To be honest, I'm having a little bit of difficulty feeling that out right now. And so I may ask Kenji to look at a few other software providers and opportunities just to make sure that we're not missing something really important and that we're focusing on the right software. So we may continue to work toward achieving it with OnBase, but we're keeping our eyes and ears open for other opportunities. We're aware Velda Shelby sent to us a thing about the Quinault tribes experience, their enrollment experience that they're utilizing. I've tried to make a call into them to talk with them directly about how they got that far with that particular provider and, kind of an idea of what their budget and experience was. So we're hoping to get more intelligence about that, as well as there are other providers that I think Lisa was engaging with recently at TribalNet that we might look into.
Yeah, so they feel like OnBase will be able to do what we need it to do. The only issue is you have to create what you want. So like when we did personnel, we actually had to hire a consultant to help us set up the workflow and how the files would look and how the metadata is collected and searched. And so it's not an easy task. We were hoping for something more out of the box, but at this point, we've been having to build, and we're hoping that the end user experience is easier. I know that's something that we hear about on base is just the interface that they use on their desktop just isn't user friendly. So we're hoping to make it more user friendly if we can.
I appreciate the response there. My fear, or one of the things I don't want to see happen, is us upload it all into OnBase and then have to turn around and re-upload it into the new software system. I don't, with what I'm reading here, I don't know that we've talked with enough department heads to actually fully understand what the needs are of all of these departments. So when I'm looking at an org chart without clearly understanding how much storage and knowing that there's not a software for it to go directly into, it's hard to add people right now without really knowing what the needs are in its entirety.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, Danielle, I think that there's, what you're feeling is valid, in that there is a space that we're in that is very much needing definition, right? There has been a move to work things into OnBase prior to this point, and I believe that it's been successful for the type of information that they've wanted to get in there. With our cooperative meetings with IT, we definitely have this on the table on a regular basis to talk about, you know, what's our opportunity or opportunity cost. And we definitely want to make sure that we end up with the right product. As far as what needs to be done in the meantime, there is an enormous risk of loss in the physical records that are currently sitting out in various locations. There's a very important aspect of records management that is required by the contracts that we have with the 93-638 contracts. And so having the ability to pull in NARA, the National Archives Repository Administration, and the Bureau of Trust Funds Administration records managers, and we also have the Northwest Regional Office records managers working with us for different records, has been really huge in assisting us with planning for how to handle the current state of records today. So whether those active files get digitized and into the system today in an enterprise system or not, they are being actively used somewhere, you know, in that variety of storage and manage scenario that I gave you. It's happening. And so a part of what isn't happening is the amount of support services that they need to help them organize that, manage it in the condition that it's in today. Now, whether it transitions into OnBase from there or into a different software system is really probably not the primary concern. The primary concern, I think, right now is helping them to make it more reliable and efficient in the shared drives or the physical storage locations that it's at. So there is a lot of support that's needed. We did present to every department head. So every department head has been made aware of what we're working toward. We have asked to do follow-up meetings with all of those department heads and plan to continue to schedule those. You know, some of them have responded quickly. The fire division, forestry, they really want to get working on this. They have years of decades of information there that needs to be gone through, and they really are looking forward to that support. I have a meeting scheduled with them at the end of this month to take another step forward with them. DHRD has been very responsive. They want to work toward making improvements. The Natalie and the Community Support Services Division, they have great physical records. We want to work with them to help them get those scanned. We want to make sure that we're properly certified or covered under confidentiality before we start working with them. But they have some critical records and information there that's we're really, like I said, looking forward to support. A lot of them have offsite storage, and DHRD, for example, has offsite storage up at that vault area in Polson that occasionally gets wet and needs a lot of attention down there. So, yeah, there's a lot. And just so that you understand, the staged approach that I believe is important for this department is to start with an operations technician support person, get them rolling on understanding and being trained. Kermit said he would be happy to come back and assist with some of that if we need, but getting them rolling and moving and helping with the inventory, the storage, the boxing, you know, classification of materials and so forth, and then work in toward getting another one. So it's not going to be like a rush in to have a bunch of people staffed. This is asking you to approve the framework, give the organization an opportunity to work toward easing into some of these positions being staffed.
Good, Martin.
Well, we need additional cloud storage and IT, and if I missed that, I apologize. I was in and out of the room. Where's part of your presentation?
They're basically using hard storage. They do have some cloud storage, so depending on what the need is and the growth is, then IT is gonna grow with that need. So they'll make the determination as to whether or not we'll use cloud or if we're gonna end up using tapes like we do now for most of our systems. And the hope is through this process, by setting those standards and policies, that we don't have a lot of that redundancy. Cause like right now, you might have a shared drive and I'm saving something, Jordan saving something, Charmaine saving, we're all saving the same thing. And if you have that one location where everyone can go and know what the final version is, then that will help eliminate some of that redundancy that we have in storing. We're always going to have storage need, but we can start taking some of that storage back that's being used out of redundancy as well. It'll really be handy. I'm hoping with the water compact, like right now you have doers saving things that they're working on, and legal saves things, and water rights management. But if you have that one location where all of their data could be, we feel like that might be more ideal for the tribe. And if anything were to come up, at least they would have that central location with the right access points to the right people to get that information. If something were to come up or a question's asked, you're able to go to the source instead of, well, I think maybe Casey's dealing with that, or, oh, it might be somebody else. At least you'll have that one location to kind of have that chain of custody so you know where you're going and how to retrieve it.
Other questions?
Was there a budget? It was.
Go ahead, Tom.
All right.
Here in budget. Wait, here's per cap. So this is funded at indirect. Is there a potential to fund some of this out of the water compact or other sources?
There is, we've even had doer reach out to personnel and say, we've had so much staffing new people coming on, classifications that we need, that if we're able to fund this, then we'd like to be able to do that. That's just something we'd have to work out with Greg to make sure that when we're doing our IDC that we're reflecting the correct percentages when you do add additional money.
Other questions? Yeah, our org charts need approval. Motion to approve the proposed org chart. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You know, I see a tremendous need for data management. We're just like way behind, and you know, there's crap all over the place, and you know, absolutely we need to get organized. But I see through time, though, I can see where, you know, the staffing you may need on the first end may not be needed at the end game. So, you know, I'd hope that we would achieve some type of coordinated silo communication and one repository of information, and that cool stuff that needs to be kept forever in like a museum exhibit, that happens. And that's stored correctly. So I kind of hope that it kind of, some of this works itself out of business, you know what I mean? Okay, thank you. That's my comment.
Org charts can change as often as we want them to.
Every day.
Other questions? We got a motion to accept the proposed org chart.
With those comments, so when would you go back and do a review and say, okay, we've done a lot of work here, we've got a lot of things caught up? When would that, what would be the time frame when you would probably go back and say, you know, maybe we have a few too many staff here, when do we downsize? Or now we've got this project, we need more staff. I mean, it could go either way, I think. But you have any time frame when all of this could be completed or put together?
If I might start answering that. So the SMART goals that are established with the timeframes, those are going to be utilized probably on a weekly basis, especially when we get a staff member joining us. And then the other thing that you have, besides your monthly reports or however often you might get to meet with Lisa to get the updates, is you have the annual budgeting process. So the annual work plan is, you know, that SMART goal set is in that work plan. And I really feel that it's important to make sure that we're efficiently utilizing the resources of the tribe. So that's why we're not in a hurry to fill all of these positions. I would never want to have, you know, a couple of people hired and then not have work for them to do, because they're not going to want that either. When somebody comes to work, they want to be able to work. And so we want to be very careful about that. We might even utilize some of the temporary hire opportunities with WIOA. There might be a chance to get people in to start just handling the movement of files. We have 40 file boxes in this basement right now that need to be hauled out to the warehouse. We have several files out there that still need to be shredded. And so there's some work that needs to be done on the operations side today that would give somebody an idea of like what we're doing and why we're doing it. And then they may want to work into a full-time technician position. If they find a desire to continue with it, because we're going to give them training, we're going to give them, you know, soft skill development. We're going to give them actual records management career training through some of the resources we have. We have a whole plan laid out on how they would come in at entry, how they'll advance to tier 1 and tier 2. And we want to produce for you some records management professionals. So that's the goal. And if somebody is inspired by gaining a career, like if you look at usajobs.com right now and search for records management, there are a ton of high-level positions that people can work themselves into. So this is a very scientifically based and desirable career that some people go into, and it's super important. So I think it's a great opportunity.
And it's written into the positions as well to have that dialogue with your superiors and help talk through those things for any kind of gaps that you see. There's might be, hey, we're doing really good with this, so the department can kind of take that on. So we need to start focusing in a different area. There's flexibility in those PDs to allow for that.
Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Charmel, thank you for that presentation. A whole different perspective of records management that I wasn't aware of, and understanding the need for it and in a huge organization such as ours. And I think right now, because of our unfinished discussions with the amended or proposed amended org chart, I think we need to finish that first before we know exactly where we're going in regards to these types of new proposals. But I understand the need on why we need to have this, and I would support it. But I just think it would really confuse everything, because we really have not yet made any solid decisions on how we're going to amend the reorg chart yet, knowing that we all agreed that it does need to be amended. But that's just my opinion. So thank you.
Any other comments? Got a motion by Carol to approve the proposed org chart. Is there a second? Second by Bing. Any other comments? If not, all in favor? Jennifer? Bing? Tom? Carol? Martin? Myself? So I got Carol, Bing, Tom, myself, and Jennifer. 4, all against? Len? Danielle? Martin, against? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Martin.
and for the record, I just am against this right now with the uncertainty with on-base, storage, and, just some of the uncertainties we have right now with the budget. So, that's why I'm opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tribal Council. I appreciate your time and attention, and it's always an honor and a privilege to serve you.
Can we go into executive?
We have in front of us a request to award an incentive award. Any motions out there? Motion by Danielle to go with the recommended incentive from the board. Second by Len. All in favor? Unanimous. Jennifer?
Can we go back into executive for legal update?
I'm wondering if Teresa's done. Done? We'll go ahead.
Teresa, I'm in need of a street light down by the basketball courts down in the agency. And I don't know if you guys could get us a cost, or if that's something that an act of charity you guys might be able to do for the community. But if there's anything you can do, or even get me a number on it so I can figure out how to proceed forward with that light. Thank you, Teresa.
Bing.
Teresa, before you leave, I think I can't do this, I can bring it to you. There's a bunch of lights out on the Powell Grounds road, the road that goes up to the Powell Grounds. That whole string of lights, there's street lights, there are out. And there's people walking there at night, and also the kids that get out of that center 9 o'clock. And then when they're walking home, and it's pretty dark down there on that sidewalk and stuff down there. So I was just wondering if there's any chance of getting those lights back up and running again.
We will investigate both. I know there was about getting it like
Okay.
so.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We'll go out of regular into executive.
Mr. Chairman, the request from Lindsay would be to allow tribal employees a 2-hour change of duty between now and I believe November 5th general election day to go vote.
With supervisor.
With supervisor approval.
Motion by Martin, second by Tom. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Chairman and Council.
Jennifer.
Bing, did you have that donation request you were gonna request?
Go ahead, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last night I was contacted by Trahan, and she was asking if the council would be willing to support sponsoring the flag down at the INFR. And I think last year, I believe the cost for sponsoring that flag was $5,000. And I'm not sure, but I think gaming pretty much covered that last year. But since gaming is not involved in it too much anymore, I don't know whether or not that they would be willing to sponsor, go half, or whatever else they want to do. So I was talking to Jen this morning, and I said, well, I don't know whether council would want to do that. That's a lot of money. I said to sponsor that. I said, but for the tribe anyway, there's a lot of tribes there at that rodeo. So I don't know whether the tribe would be interested in doing that or not. And also, I asked yesterday about the donation to those kids. And I was talking to Jen this morning about it, and I was wondering if there could be, we could make that donation for $500 a piece for them kids. Get out of the donation fund.
Any thoughts? I definitely support the individual donations to the kids for sure. I like the idea of having our flag flown there. Any objections to sponsoring a flag?
Mr. Chair, well, I'd personally like to support the youth themselves with the money before I'd support the flag. So I want to, at a national level thing like this and have, our people be there is fantastic. And what an accomplishment by these individual kids. And so I want to make sure that they have the opportunity to go, and I would certainly support that donation before the flag. That's, and the corporations all have their own set aside amount to donate. And that's already excluded from what they give to us in our revenue from them. So, I would hope that they would go ask them first before they come to us on that one. But I certainly want to support the youth. So that's my opinion.
Jennifer?
Can we check to see if like the gaming LLC and gaming commissioners can split it? For the flag to be flown?
I'd support that. Any objections to supporting the kids individually? I think we're all in agreement on the kids.
Yeah, because it would be like 3 times a day for the flag to be flown, but it's 5,000 for the 5 days total. So I just didn't want people to think it was 5,000 for each, like grand entry.
So, no, and if we can get the corporations to put that bill, that's cool. Thanks, Bing. Carol?
I got a request from Vi the other day on, Clara's house. They've been using her money at that, when she passed away, Clara Charlo, to pay the utilities and stuff on the home, and it's getting to be a little bit much. And so now I guess they're gonna try to sell it, help her son sell it. He's in Butte. And so, she was wondering if we could assist with electricity bills at all for that home for 2 months. And I don't even know how much they are. I mean, nobody lives there or anything.
Martin?
I tried to help with this issue last year too, and the problem is that the son owns it. He would be the one that would have to apply for services because he doesn't reside here. That's the issue. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. He turned it over to his daughters. I think they didn't read it very well. Weren't open, so I don't want to say too much. But yeah, it's a hard one because he's the owner and not really the one requesting it.
I'd have a hard time supporting it. What, Jen?
I was gonna say that's also Les's brother. He wants to keep his mom's house and he's trying to sell his house. So he's trying not to sell Clara's house. They're trying to sell Doug's house because he's the next in line. But that's just Doug. I'm kind of like on Martin's. I'm just hearsay from what Doug said because he's the one that's in the ownership of Clara's old house.
Do I get to have my power paid for too?
Yeah.
Yeah? Understand that, but the point is if we do it for one, we gotta do it for everybody. Yeah. Hmm. Anything else? Yay, hoy. Thank you all.